when I decided to end it with her to focus on the woman who became my girlfriend for a long time, I didn't know how to end it. I was like, oh man, I feel like she shouldn't be ghosted. Like we've put in enough time there, but I don't know what to say. So guess what I did?
Do I want to know?
No.
I'm going to drink for
not.
this.
Jenna wrote me a really long text and I copied and pasted it to her. And it literally was basically like if you just took the key points from this entire list we've got and made it into one like 3-paragraph text message.
It's probably been way nicer than what he would have sent.
I hope that you paid her.
Her response was, that's cool. You're a piece of shit. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Menage-A-Pod, the hysterical comedy podcast about sex, dating, relationships, and everything in between. I'm TJ, and as always, I'm joined by the pinky to my brain, the beauty to my beast,
Ooh,
Jenna.
Wait, which one am I in pinky in the brain? I'm probably not the brain, am I?
You can be whatever you want to be.
I know that's what you're thinking. You're just trying to be nice so our audience thinks you're nice, but I'm onto you.
I honestly just made that, like, just chose the pinky and the brain on the spot as we started this, so I didn't have it in my head which one you would be. But ask me what we're up to today.
What are we up to?
Taking over the world.
You're such a dork.
I am. So we have a big episode today with a very seasonally relevant topic, a great guest, as always, I'm super excited about, a new sponsor, and two contests to announce.
You guys get excited.
So want to jump right in and kick it off?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Well, today's episode is brought to you by T-Box 2019. The 12 Bars of Christmas is right around the corner. On December 14th in Wrigleyville, come join us at the world's largest and longest running bar crawl. It's almost that time, so get dressed in your favorite holiday costumes and come party with thousands of your friends. This year's theme is meme, and there will be contests, free swag, drink tickets, great specials, performances by Stash, Hairbangers Ball, Ultra Beat, all-day karaoke, and an appearance by, this is kind of hysterical, Chance the Snapper's hero, Alligator Bob. You remember the alligator?
I do.
That's
so
incredible.
Funny.
Other celeb appearances and more. And since we are a dating podcast after all, hundreds of couples have met at T-Box and gotten married, so you never know who you may meet. Go to tbox.org/menage or type the code Menage in to save $5 off ticket prices. That's tbox.org/MENAGE.
Wait, that's really funny. Do you think Alligator Bob is going to also sing karaoke? Because that would be awesome.
What would he sing? Crocodile Tears? Is that a song?
Crocodile Rock?
Oh, fuck yes. Fuck yes.
I think that feels like a missed opportunity if he's not, to be perfectly honest.
I agree 100%.
I've actually never been to T-Box. Have you?
I have not, but thanks to our lovely sponsor who's going to be getting us some tickets, we're going to go. Yeah, so.
I see them in my neighborhood all the time. They come all. I don't know where they start.
It's through Wrigleyville, right?
Okay, so that would make sense. So then, they're always in the neighborhood and they're always dressed up. But I love that the theme is meme.
I love it.
That feels very on brand for us.
But I'm not sure. Yeah, since 95% of what we post is memes. Yeah, I'm not sure like how you would turn a meme based costume.
No, I think we're gonna have to really. Oh, sorry. So it's not off. We're gonna have to really think about that one. Maybe we can, if we're going together, we could be one meme put together. So I'd be part of it.
Incredible.
You'd be the other. So like that game, What Do You Meme? Have you played that game?
I've not, but
it's my jam.
Is it your jam? What is it?
It's basically like Cards Against Humanity, where one card is just like a picture,
right, and
then the other card is what the meme would say, and you go around just like Cards Against Humanity, where like you have one judge, and then everyone puts down what they think, and then the one judge will pick, and then it rotates, and then the end, whoever has the most cards wins. But it's fun. Super fun.
It would be my pleasure to destroy you in that game sometime.
That's really hurtful. Maybe we could play it on an episode.
That would be awesome.
But anyway, so I could go as the card and you could go as what they say or something, you know?
Before we get into this next part, it's kind of funny that we're talking about memes right now because I know nowadays most people are pretty clear about how you pronounce that word, but over time...
Meme?
So Bryce Harper, who is an absolute athletic icon, he is a baseball player for the Philadelphia Phillies, and he just signed like a $400 million contract, definitely famous. He, in an interview, called it a meme.
No.
Yeah, and this was like last year.
Did anyone stop him?
I don't think so.
You know who also says meme?
Who?
DJ. Didn't he say it on the show? Was that you?
I don't know.
I feel like he did, and I was like
said it,
making fun of him relentlessly.
Yeah, I would have destroyed somebody if they said May May
Yeah.
in front of me. I don't think I could let that slide.
But now I feel like that's how I want to say it because it sounds cooler and funnier. Maybe make it trending.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hashtag May May spelled MAY MAY.
Yep.
And everything that we post that's meme related from now on, we will tag it May May.
May. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. We might just start something
We're
new.
innovators here at Menage-A-Pod.
We are.
Brace yourselves, guys.
All right, guys. One more quick thing before we get into our show today. I wanted to tell you that we have a contest going. So like our first ever contest. I'm pretty excited about it. In support of our new sponsor, we're actually running not one, but two contests to win a pair of tickets to T-Box 2019. The first way you can win actually is by submitting your ghosting stories, which spoiler, that's today's topic. I don't think we got into that yet, but it makes sense when you know that that is our topic for today. So submit your best ghosting stories, and the best submission will win a pair of tickets. And all submitted stories will be credited and read live on an upcoming episode. So TBD on when that'll air, but we'll keep you guys posted. The second way you can win is by writing a review of the podcast on Apple Podcasts, taking a screenshot of your review, only if it's a nice one, and then sending it to us through
5
DM.
stars only, fuckers.
Yeah. You can send it to us through DM on Instagram or at menagepod3@gmail.com. And then the winner will be chosen at random and announced on the air during our December 2nd episode. So get excited.
Get excited. Get out there, guys. That's the call to action for this week. Make sure you're submitting all of your best ghost stories because we'd love to read some great stories to the remainder of our listeners.
But like, just out of, I mean, you say ghost stories and I think like, ooh, spooky ghost stories.
Ghosting. Yeah. Tell us about a time where a guy or girl just did you so dirty and heinous that you hated
Murdered
them going
him.
forward.
Oh, wait. No, that's not right.
I feel like that's a step too far, but
Fine, don't tell me because then I'll have to report it to the police.
40 episodes in, that's on brand for us as you being the one who goes steps too far.
Fair. Also talks about ghosts. You know I love a good true crime podcast.
You do.
So.
All right. Well, guys, you've heard it. You know what to do. Send us reviews. Send us your best ghosting stories. And Jenna, let's get into the episode. Mm-hmm. All right. So it is my pleasure to introduce our guest for this week. Again, my broken record spiel, best guest ever. Super excited about this. So joining us today is Jess Zimlich. She is the creator behind the lifestyle blog and Instagram account titled 26 and Not Counting, where she catalogs her personal style and stories and blogs all about her life, the who, the what, and the what to wear. So Jess, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
It's our pleasure to have you. So you said this is your first podcast you've ever been on?
It is.
Well, we're glad we get to be your first. I know that's a special moment in a young lady's life.
It really is. Oh, my word.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. So like you said, I blog at 26 and Not Counting. And because I get this question all the time, I am no longer 26. I am 32 and I'm not afraid to say that.
Good for you.
I blog about the who, the what, the where, everything in between. Being single, dating has been a hot topic.
For sure.
I'm sure.
Something
we're aware.
Right. Really, I'm just looking for someone to feed me tacos and tell me that I'm witty.
Same. Oh my gosh, me too.
See,
had I known, we would have prepared and we could have done that for you.
Yeah, I know. And I don't need anyone to tell me witty. If you could give me tacos and tell me I'm pretty, I'm way more here for that.
Right, I think so. We met you through
Tina
Overheard.
and Liz.
Yeah, Overheard and Chicago Girls.
Yes.
How do you know them?
Gosh, Instagram.
Oh,
Liz
really?
is great. We
They're so
actually
great.
just met in person when she had her event at Happy Camper
Yeah.
a
nice.
few weeks
Yeah,
ago.
we were gonna go.
It was awesome. She's wonderful. Again, Instagram's just kind of a weird
I'm
place.
telling you, it really is.
You know, you underestimate the reach certain accounts have. I submitted a text message that someone had sent to us, and I sent it and asked if they would post it, and they tagged us in it. And for like a 7-day span, we had like a 4,000% reach in our Instagram stats. Like it was incredible.
Yes.
Yeah. And they're great about that stuff too. So
They really
they're
are.
good people to partner with and be friends with.
They threw me up on their Instagram stories, and I highlighted some of my favorite places for first dates, and the DM slides were real.
I'm sure.
They were coming in hot. They're still coming in.
Well, what is your favorite date? Like your all-time favorite date spot?
Oh my
because
gosh.
we have been talking about like adding something like that into the show because everyone wants to know where to go. And I don't know. I mean, technically you're not out there dating but you're going out on dates with your girl. So like
You gotta keep it fresh.
Yeah.
so what's your favorite date spot?
I would say the Dawson.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Oh.
That's one of my favorite spots too.
All right.
Jenna introduced me to it, and
Sure
I've
did.
actually
I've
gone on
introduced
dates with 4 women now.
to a lot of places he likes to take ladies out on. Mhm.
I mean,
Thanks,
I
pal.
would say-
You're welcome.
And maybe it's I'm always think it's kind of about the company that you're with.
Yeah.
Totally.
Can make a spot.
Right.
I'm trying to think if there are any others that stick out to me.
I feel like the Dawson is great mostly in the summertime.
I was going to say we sat on the patio for
great spot.
5 hours
Yeah.
and just talked and ate and drank,
Yeah.
which was
They have the
ideal.
Best drinks. What was the one that you kept ordering?
So this is a good Dawson story. They have a drink there, no longer on the menu because they were afraid of assholes like me. It was a mezcal based drink that was a take on like a very traditional South American drink, served in a clay pot. And the tradition is at the end you throw the pot on the ground and break it. When Jenna and I were there, after like my third drink of those,
Oh no.
I said to the waiter comes up and I say, hey, you know, I'm a big mezcal and tequila fan. I know my history around this drink. I know the tradition is to like break this pot. And he's like, yeah, if you could not do that, it'd be great. And my next drink, regular glass.
Yep.
They took my pot privileges
They
away.
did.
You got
They
your
totally did.
privileges
Yeah,
taken
he was
away.
like,
Yeah.
this fucking guy, this is his third one. It's not
Well, and I
happening.
told
Not
Jenna,
today.
if I get a fifth one and they give it to me in a pot,
It's
now I'm
happening.
breaking it for sure. They did not, though. They were smart. So good call to the management and servers at the Dawson who took one
Seriously.
look at me and were like, this guy, we cannot be trusted.
Yep. Yeah, that is a really good spot. I find, and it's not like new or anything, but
No.
I sometimes I feel like the trendy places, they have to get, I don't actually think trendy places are good places to go on a date because so I like to be familiar with my surroundings on
Home
a
court
first
advantage
date.
a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. It doesn't have to necessarily be in my neighborhood, but like I want to feel comfortable there. And sometimes these trendy spots are like too cool with like all these like amazingly beautiful people. And I don't want to have to like see that while I'm on a date, right? Like
competition.
I'd rather like hunker down in like a cool, like cute little spot and just like focus on my
Is
date
that
and
why you
have a
take
good
most of your
time.
dates to like hot dog joints in the south suburbs?
Oh my God.
Really? Is that what I do?
I don't know. It sounded good in the moment.
But I do. I have like a handful of places that I would normally take dates and they're all the same places. And so then I always wonder like the one waiter is hysterical. She's great. And she's always like, give me a signal. Like, what's our signal going to be?
I love that.
Yeah. And I guess there is like something like when you're at a bar, a lot of bartenders know. Have you heard this?
I have. I actually saw a sign in the bathroom recently.
Which
And
is
Oh, I don't
kind of
know.
like
So
this.
tell me.
it had the code word for the bartender listed.
Yes, exactly. Or there's a hand movement you can do where it's like two fingers and you just tap. So, sometimes people tap like to get another drink. But if you're a woman on a date, then they look at you and then they'll say like, are you okay?
Right.
Which I think is awesome.
Absolutely.
I like the code word better. What is the code word?
That one was blueberry.
Yeah. So it's always different.
Who knows?
But it's kind of cool that they do that. I think that's a great
absolutely.
idea. Especially if your fucking dates are creepy. I've had some creepy fucking dates.
Oh, so have I.
Yeah. So I don't know. Anyway.
Before we dive into the topic and you're talking about creepy dates, what would you say is the creepiest date you've ever had?
The creepiest date.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh. I've got to say, so I had this date. I actually met this guy in an Uber and we kind of hit
Uber
it
pool?
off.
Met him in
An Uber pool.
Wow.
Oh, well, that was your first mistake. I would have been like, you
Okay.
can't pay for a regular Uber.
He seemed legit. He owns this software company, something with real estate. I'm not really sure. And so, yeah, we hit it off. I gave him my number and I was like, I probably never hear from him. Well, of course he texted. So I agreed to meet him at, we went to 3 Arts and
Oh, that's a good one.
So
That's a good
Instagrammable.
one,
Love
yeah.
it.
it is, but I was really excited to eat. We talked about eating because 3 Arts has one of my absolute favorite grilled cheese sandwiches in
Yes,
all of
it's so
Chicago.
good. Yeah.
But we get there and he's like, oh, I already ate. And I'm just thinking, I haven't and I'm hangry and this is probably not going to end well. So he was like, let's just get a bottle of wine, go up to the roof, and then we can get food after. I'm thinking, okay, but I really wanted the grilled cheese. So
Yeah.
we go up to the roof. It was a really nice night. It was over the summer. The conversation was great. He had 1 glass of wine and then all of the sudden he just we were on this kind of like couch and he just laid his head in my lap.
What?
And I was like, what? I literally said, what are you doing? And he's like, I just really wanted to lay my head in your lap.
He didn't say mama at that point, did he?
I was just like,
Starts sucking his thumb.
I was like, I think it might be time for us to go. And he's like, is this creeping you out? And I was like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird.
And how far along in the date were you at this point?
I mean, like an hour and a half.
Oh, yeah. I mean, even if it was like an hour and a half into like your 4th date, that might be weird.
He was laying like a small child, like hands kind of tucked under his head, and I'm just like, oh God, like
That's weird.
abort mission. Like,
So what you're saying is going forward, I should never do that to a woman on a date.
Don't.
Okay,
And in a
I'll add that to my
a
not do
public
list.
Place of like what?
Yeah, only
are you
after one.
doing?
It wasn't even like he was drunk because it was only one.
glass of wine.
That's weird.
So that was creepy.
Yeah.
He was just drunk on the energy of a wonderful first date.
Apparently,
Wow.
All right,
There must
well,
have been some good wine though. What
Yeah.
was it?
I don't
Do
know.
I need some of that? Because if after one glass and he's like ready to lay down, I feel like that's so.
he was really drinking absinthe. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
he was drunk when he showed up.
Did you pregame this date?
Yeah, he probably
I
did.
mean, aren't you supposed to? Isn't that kind of the point?
I always have one drink before a date, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
always
totally.
Snapchat my
Personality
girlfriends.
drink, I call it.
That's kind of like my go-to.
Personality drink. I like
Oh
that.
yeah.
Yeah, we used to call. I can't take credit for that. That was Tabitha. We used to call it my friend Tabitha. We always like, should we do a personality drink before we leave? And we're like, yeah, always.
Loosens you up a bit.
Yeah,
And yeah,
yeah.
it's gotta happen.
All right, well, why don't we jump into the topic? You ready, Jenna?
I'm ready.
All right. Well, guys, it's October, and you know what that means.
Wait, let me guess. Is it like pumpkin spice lattes, flannels, and pumpkin patches?
Yeah, that too, but also Halloween's coming up. So in honor of that spooky holiday, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about ghosting.
We're so festive and like seasonably appropriate.
Seasonably,
Seasonally appropriate? I haven't even had a sip of the champagne yet.
you are an
Let
embarrassment
me
to your
get
family and your
on
country.
that.
I'm halfway through mine.
Oh, I'm so
It's
impressed.
time for you to catch up.
She definitely needs to catch up. So, in the spirit of October and ghosting, we went to our favorite go-to reference site, urbandictionary.com, because that's where all the cool kids in the in crowd get
it's
their
very-
info.
It's very like legit
It is so
with their
legit.
definitions.
Yeah, so it defines ghosting as the act of suddenly ceasing all communication with someone the subject is dating but no longer wishes to date. This is done in hopes that the ghostee will just quote unquote get the hint and leave the subject alone, as opposed to the subject simply telling them he or she is no longer interested, which sounds like it's for the birds for me. Ghosting is not specific to a certain gender and is closely related to the person's maturity and communication skills, and a lot of people attempt to justify ghosting as a way to cease dating without hurting someone's feelings. But in fact, I think this proves that the person's more thinking about themselves, because this causes more confusion for the ghostee than if the subject kindly just stated how they really felt. And you know, a lot of people blame the phenomenon on dating apps, social media, and the hookup culture. But Jenna, ghosting's been around literally as long as dating's been a thing.
I know, it's just a bunch of pussies who like can't tell people how they feel.
I am a pussy.
That is everything, nothing to do with social media. It's like men and women have been lame.
Yeah,
from
for a
the
long
start.
time. I actually, I
But
read.
it was like, what was like the, let's talk about what the 1900s kind of ghosting would look like. What do you think that would look like?
Ooh, man, that's that. They
It's
tell
like-
you they're going to send a horse-drawn carriage to pick you up, and it never shows up.
Or like you're promised some livestock for something and
Yeah.
they just don't send it. You don't get that cow.
You
Sorry.
get like a carrier pigeon with like a scroll in it. And I actually read a study talking about relationships and the endings of them from like 1970, and the way that it was describing the interactions and types of endings. It was very much ghosting. So this is definitely not a
Well,
new
the
thing.
70s was like free love,
Yeah.
all that kind of shit. You didn't have to really ghost. I feel like everyone was just boning everyone, and it was like, it was what it was. Like, it just was their culture.
Fair, but
Yeah.
I'm here to counter that you don't really need to ghost now. So we're going to get into why people ghost, how not to ghost, and on the flip side of that, how to handle rejection. Because come on,
Just
guys.
like be an adult.
Yeah, we're all adults here. So let's do that.
Yeah.
I'm just going to ask some questions. We're going to talk about a couple topics and kind of get everyone to weigh in. So starting off, guys, have you ever ghosted or been ghosted before? Jess, why don't you go first?
I have definitely ghosted, but it is something that I don't do anymore.
Okay.
Just because being on the receiving end of that is shitty.
We call that ghosting woke.
Yes.
Wow. Is
Love
that
it.
what we call it?
I trademark.
Okay.
Did you just make that up?
I did.
Really did. You couldn't tell?
So yeah, it's something I try not to do anymore just because I believe in whatever you're putting out there is probably what you're getting back.
Totally.
I've definitely been ghosted. I can't even tell you how many times, but I think probably the worst ghosting experience was I was working at a company and this guy transferred to my team, and it's so funny. I don't think he knew that I could see that he was coming to my like Instagram. He didn't follow me, but he
Okay.
was looking at my Instagram stories
A lot of people
like,
don't know that you can see.
multiple times a day. So
Wow.
totally creeping on me. And finally, I kind of thought he was cute. So I eventually just added him and was like, hey, like slid into his DMs and he's, let's get together. I was like, okay. We went out, had a great time. I was going to a concert, so the date probably would have continued, but I had other plans. So
right.
Smart move.
Busy woman, I got it.
I know.
Yeah.
So I basically, he was, let's get together again. And I said, okay, cool. So we planned something for the next weekend. On Friday night, he sent me a text and said something along the lines of, oh, so sorry, just now getting back to you. And I was like, what are you saying sorry for? And he was like, oh, my Google Calendar just reminded me of our date tomorrow. And I'm thinking, you're the first person to view my Instagram stories.
Like every day.
You didn't forget.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, come on, buddy. So anyway, that was that. I was kind of like some little banter back and forth about how I was going to beat him in skee ball again because I'm really good at skee ball. It's like one of the things that I do.
Oh, man. I
Really
feel like
well.
that's a challenge brewing right there.
Yeah. Anyway, I sent him a message on Instagram. I was like, hey, we should check out this place. It was like headquarters in River North.
Yep.
I was like, we can go there for games. And then I never heard from him.
Like ever again.
No.
But
So
wait, didn't you say he works with you?
Yeah.
That's awkward.
So I was actually wrapping up a project for the company that I was working for. So I never encountered him again, basically.
Oh.
So he blocked me on Instagram.
What?
So this all happened within
Like, why are you mad, bro?
like 10
wrong?
hours because So I
Wow.
realized like mid Saturday morning before our Saturday date, he had blocked me. And I was
Oh,
like,
that's
what
weird.
is going on? Like, am I living in the Twilight Zone right now? Like, what could have happened?
Right.
Never hear from him again. I was like, whatever, crazy. And then a few months ago, no, maybe just like a month and a half ago, he's like looking at my stories again. So I sent him a DM.
You should block him.
I've been that guy,
No.
so I'm not saying much.
Yeah, you have.
I was so mad. So I just sent him a message and basically told him what I thought about what he did. And he apologized like profusely.
As he should.
He wasn't trying to like get together again at all. He was just kind of like, oh yeah, I fucked up. And I was like, yeah, you can't do that to people.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, but he had to physically go in and unblock you to
you're right.
then what?
You crazy.
Weird.
guys-
That's weird.
I to this day, I just want to know what was going on in your head.
Not much. You know, if there's a frequent flyer mileage program for people who block then unblock and start watching stories
You.
again, I would have like
You
a
would
platinum
win.
card in that program.
Yeah, you would.
Like I try not to do it now, but up until about a year and a half ago, it was like epidemic level.
Oh,
It
my
was.
God.
Do you know how many times I've been blocked from TJ's?
What?
Instagram?
Yeah,
Yeah.
peak. Like I have a hard time with boundaries. So the minute someone is even mildly annoying to me, I'm like, they're on
We start a
timeout.
You're
podcast
gone.
together.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm mildly annoying, yet we started a podcast
Okay.
together. Yeah.
I'm an opportunist.
This dynamic.
Yes.
I'm learning.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's funny. And so you said, have you yourself, you've ghosted recently, but you're not a big fan of
I
it?
haven't ghosted recently. Even the man who laid his head in my lap, he reached out and wanted to get together again. And I just told him, I was like,
For a nap?
yeah. I was
He's like, let's have a
He's
nap
like, let's
date.
schedule a nap time.
It's really cool.
yeah, honey child, that is not happening again. Like,
He's got like a little blankie and a cot he brings with him.
right. But even he deserves a text. I was like, I told him, I was like, you're quirky and weird. And I like that. And a guy, like, I'm into that.
Right.
But I did not feel
That's a step too far.
right. I was like, I didn't feel anything. I don't know that I'd feel anything if a man put his head in his lap. I don't know. I was just like, what is happening right now?
Well, it's funny you said that about quirky and weird because I would argue that being quirky and weird is actually seen as a plus by a lot of people, but you still need to adhere to like social norms.
Right.
Totally.
Like be quirky, be weird, be interesting, be into like random shit. That does make you an interesting person, but don't take a nap on somebody on the first date.
Right.
It's a little
No.
extra.
On the rooftop of
Right.
3 Arts.
But here's the weird thing about this. When I hear stories like this, it make me angry because, like, if that were a woman and did that to a man and he thought that was weird, like, that probably would have gone down a lot differently. And, like, well, they probably would have tried to sleep with you and then
Yeah.
never call you again.
Exactly.
You know? So,
When I have to ask though, when he put his head on your lap that night, was your group chat with your friends just lit?
Oh,
Oh,
you
I
don't
bet.
even know.
Yeah.
They were like, how did you get him off? I was like, I just kind of like,
I'm like, I have to go to the bathroom.
Do you go on dates with like a little travel fly swatter in your purse, pull out, slap him on the forehead?
Like, Just the most awkward situation.
So Jenna, how about you? What's your record with the ghosting situations?
I think it's probably 50-50 if I'm being honest. I would like to tell you that I'm a more enlightened and mature individual, but here's the thing. When I was dating, I was dating a lot.
Like 6 dates a week.
Yeah.
What?
A lot. Yeah. Because in my brain it was a numbers game because it was like I had to deal.
I mean, it is a numbers game.
It is a numbers game. I am also in sales. So like, for me, it's like you meet as many people as you can and then you can like kind of whittle down
you
from
build
there.
your roster, you have a bench, you kind of like.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So
I need to know.
I'll tell you all my secrets.
Okay.
So for me, it was like there were a lot of people that I would go out with just once and it was fine. And we would either both never talk again, which I don't think constitutes ghosting. We just both knew that there wasn't like something going on. But
mutual ghosting, that's called the haunted house or something.
Is it?
Did you just make that up?
I might have. Who fucking knows?
And then, so there was like a lot of that, but there was this one guy who was great. Like he was a teacher and, I think he was like a principal or something of like a charter school. Super nice guy, little short for me, but I was like, it's okay. He's fun. We have a good time together. We hung out for We hung out for maybe like 2 months and like he'd stayed the night a couple of times and not once tried to have sex. Okay. Why are you at my house if this is not happening? We're not having a slumber party.
Right.
Yeah, we're not braiding each other's hair.
Did you guys make like pillow forts and?
No, it was so weird. And so after the second time I said something to him about it and I was like, is there something wrong? Do we need to talk about that? I'm just really confused. And he's like, no, I just didn't want to move too fast. And I'm like, I wouldn't have invited you over to my house otherwise. Right. I mean, I would have, but I wouldn't have told you to stay the night. Like that is the universal sign for we're going to bone.
Glad to know.
Yeah.
Is there like a little, like a kabuki interpretive dance for we're going to bone too that you do to them?
There could be. Yeah. It goes like this. Oh, you guys can't see me. I'm sorry. Anyways, there was that guy. And then he went to Vegas for this trip and he seemed really into me. And then they went to Vegas for this trip for a birthday. And then I like never heard from him again. And it was so weird. And I texted him a couple of times and I was like, dude, did you just like disappear? Like what's going on? Is everything okay? And I never heard from him. And then like a month, he texts me and he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I've been really, really sick. And I was like hospital sick? Because otherwise there's no reason for you to
you
not
had
return
MRSA?
Yeah.
Right.
Like he
Have
was
you
like,
been hospitalized?
Yeah. He was like, no, I've just had the flu and then, I've just been traveling. And I was like, okay, whatever. Like I thought you were more of an adult than this. I was shocked. I was really shocked. And then that was it. And that was like that was the one that I think.
The most jarring ghosting.
Yeah, because I thought we were getting somewhere and whatever.
Getting somewhere where you have sleepovers but no intercourse.
Right.
That's not a place I really want to get to.
That is also true. So
feels like high effort, low reward.
It kind of was, honestly. And then at that point I was like, are we just buds? Like that's cool too, but let's have that conversation.
Did you ask him if he wanted to start a podcast?
I did not. Ha 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 ha. So anyway, that was the one that I can remember most clearly. But then I've also I haven't really done it because there's one person I'm thinking of that we all know and love, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah.
And
I personally think you love talking to everyone, even if it's not people you like. So that's what you don't ghost. You're like, this guy's the worst. I'm going to have like a 2-hour phone conversation with him to let him down.
No, this guy's great. He was great. We just different people, different.
Well, that's
lives.
not ghosting.
Well, I know. That's what I was going to say. So we had tried a couple of times. The first time we had a conversation about it. The second time we tried, we just stopped hanging out. Like it was like we were supposed to hang out once and then like we just never got in touch with each other. No. But we're still friends now to this day. So we don't talk about it. Like was not even discussed.
That never happened.
No. We brushed it under the carpet and move on.
Like a couple months ago, we went out and had dinner and we were just like chatting like nothing ever happened.
Right.
But we knew we were just friends. Right. And he's great. He's great in a friend capacity. That's obviously why it fizzled was that there needed to be a little bit more there.
Spark, yeah.
Yeah. But he's a lovely human. But so does that count as ghosting? Because neither one of us like called after when we were supposed to do the last date and then we just kind of let it fizzle.
Yeah, I don't think that's ghosting.
Is it mutual ghosting?
It might be, or it might even be some sort of hybrid. And I knew that you hadn't ghosted much and you wouldn't have that great of a ghosting story. So luckily,
that wasn't a good story.
It's okay. It's just not ghosting. And fortunately for all of us, I've done it so much I barely have a soul at this point. So
well, I could tell our story. I could tell.
Well, let's pass on that.
Okay.
Guys, I want to know the story.
We'll tell you after we
can't tease
record.
me like that.
So it's funny because as you guys told your stories, it was like jogging my memory of things. And, just based on what I've said, clearly I've done some ghosting. And now I'm
You
not.
guys can't see his face, but you look oddly proud to be talking about this. Does he not? He's smiling.
right.
Yeah, he's like, I'm good at this.
No,
It's not a good thing. I wouldn't talk about it like it's a good thing.
Pipe down, Judgy McJudgerson.
just saying.
Yeah, I'm just saying, no, I've definitely reached a point where I see why it's bad. I think a big part is people having a realistic definition of what ghosting is. Like, so for me, if you talk to someone, like say you match on Bumble and you have like 2 days worth of conversations and then you just never talk again, to me, that's not ghosting.
No.
And I would even argue if you've only had like one date and it's just like a mediocre date, that's really on the cusp of what is truly ghosting. There's got to be some sort of equity into it from both of you if it's not impactful, how can anyone really care that much?
Right. I think if someone's reaching out to you though,
Yeah,
like
and you're
after
not
that
reciprocating, for sure.
I think
I'm with you on
that's
that.
Kind of,
I agree with you on that one too.
yeah, going into ghosting territory.
Yeah, it is. So one of the things you had said is about the guy who had blocked you the day after.
Right.
I have blocked someone from the bathroom of the date I was currently on.
What?
Shut up.
You're such a dick.
Just been
man.
like, there was a particular person who I've mentioned.
Do I know this person?
You don't know her. You know of her. You used to work out with her at Soul Cycle.
Oh,
Yeah,
she's bad shit though.
She and gorgeous, talented, super liberal. I thought we talked for like 3 weeks. I thought it was going to be great. It was one of the most awkward dates of my life. And it was like a 5-hour first date. And there were a lot of like good things, but bad things. And in the middle of it, probably 3 hours through, I was in the bathroom and I was like, this is the meanest human being I've ever met in my life. I blocked her phone number. I deleted her on Instagram. I blocked her on like everything. And she eventually got through. I don't remember how. And we tentatively scheduled a set because I felt bad. And we tentatively scheduled another date, which then we mutually ghosted each other because I think she felt what I was doing and it was very much thick in the air.
Is that how that story went? I feel like there was more to it. There was a lot of back and forth of blocking, unblocking, talking, watching stories, not going out, then maybe going out.
Well, no, most of that happened like months after, like once we started doing this podcast. Like it was way after the fact. And so the other thing that's really funny is, we were talking about the blocking phone numbers. So as any of my friends or anyone that I message with will know, I have an Android phone. I'm an Android fan.
Oh my God.
I hate iPhones.
That's a hard no for me.
But my phone is better. I guarantee you, my phone's better. It
We
takes
do
better
this
pictures.
all
It's
the
like,
time.
yeah, and I've caught so much heat for it.
It does take better
My
pictures. I will
phone,
give you that.
I have 2-day battery life. It's fast. It's incredible. I love it. But with that said, there's no on an iPhone when you iMessage someone and you're blocked, you know it because it doesn't show as sent. But on Android, that doesn't happen. So maybe 10 years ago, there used to be an app on Android where if you blocked someone, it would send them a response message that said, your message has been blocked by Android SMS. Well, that app does not exist, but that does not stop me from texting that to people I don't want to talk to.
Stop.
I have it copy and pasted
No.
on a note, and if someone texts me and I want them to just leave me alone and I know blocking won't be effective, I respond with, your message has been blocked by Android SMS blocker.
Well, that just feels mean-spirited to me because here's the thing. Like, once you don't respond, if they are actually blocked, then they'll get the picture. There's no need to be mean about it.
But on an Android phone, if you're blocked, the messages actually still go through.
Oh, it does?
It does. Yep.
That's
it
weird.
goes.
Well,
It
then
goes
what's the
through to a
point?
spam box, but I get a notification that you have a blocked
What's the
message that
point
has
then?
come. I hate it. So that's why.
Oh, okay.
That's the
I
one
get it.
thing that iPhones has on us. So I lean into the Android blocker text. I think I'm kind of an innovator. I don't care what anyone says or how hard you're judging me.
I also just feel like, what's the point of block? That feels aggressive. I have never blocked anyone. I don't really think so. The only person I blocked was the one who called me the cunt. That
Yeah.
guy. Yeah, that was ridiculous.
that.
Yeah.
Truth teller of 2019. Yeah, that guy.
Wow.
JK. I love her.
Can you feel the love?
Can you feel
I can
the
feel
love
it.
Yeah.
tonight?
But that was the only person I've ever blocked. Because really, like at this point, like I don't have to block you. I just kind of like ignore you. I just
Right.
ignore you. You're just a blip on my radar, which sounds mean, but like, well, I don't know. I don't need to block you unless you're aggressive and mean and nasty, and then I don't want to see your shit pop up.
I have only
you know?
blocked one person.
Yeah.
And it's because he was aggressive and mean.
Yeah.
He would send random messages at the most crazy times.
Yeah.
And
Hey,
they
you
were
seem sweet.
awful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the meanest things people. I was like,
Really? Did he
are-
use the C word?
No, he told me I was ugly.
Oh.
He would just we wouldn't talk for
Were you like, hey, buddy, I got mirrors. That's
like
not true.
months And he was like, "You're so ugly." And I was like, "Why
What
are you
the
texting
fuck?
me, you crazy?"
Okay, yeah, that guy
I think
deserves
he's
to be.
on a little level. I'm not
Yeah,
really sure.
it sounds like. Following back up, talking about the ghosting, not only have I ghosted an epidemic level, not proud of it. We've talked on here before that my luck with being ghosted has actually been remarkable. I've only had 2 things that could kind of be considered a ghost. I got ghosted by someone who a month later came back and was just like, "Hey, I just ghosted you because I felt," and we hadn't even met. It was like a pre-date ghost, and we ended up going on dating a couple times afterwards. And she messaged me and was just like, "Hey, I just felt like, things were going pretty well. And I almost felt like you had me on a pedestal, and there was like no way I was going to fulfill that expectation. So I just like fell off."
A pedestal you'd never even met.
Right.
I know, but just through like the conversation, I was like, "Oh, you seem great. You're so nice." She was very pretty,
got it,
whatever.
got it. Okay.
And then the only real ghosting was by someone who I know for a fact has listened to almost every episode of this podcast.
Oh my gosh. Spill the tea.
Yeah, so someone who I've known for a couple years, and we met on a dating app and never met. She lives pretty nearby to where we are.
I love her. I don't know her, but I love her.
She's submitted like dating stories to the podcast.
She tried to hook me up with somebody.
Oh my
whose name was also TJ.
Yeah. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Because we did like this dating thing, like for our listeners who got like 1 month or whatever.
To suggest dates for Jenna, like send guys to her.
I love that.
Yeah.
And so
Do you
we
want to help me out?
Yes.
Okay, good.
we went on one date. It was like, it seemed actually pretty great. And at the end of the night, like, I mean, it was about as good of a date as you could imagine for a first date. And she, the next morning, was like texting me the next morning. And then she was like, "All right, I'm going on a vacation." Like she was going to like Seattle with family or something. Never heard from her again.
What?
And this was after like almost 2 years of on and off reconnecting from like just, I think we matched on Bumble like 2017.
What?
Yeah.
It's so weird to me when people, I guess, no one's pressuring you to say, "Let's get together again."
I think
so
it's an
bizarre
easy
when that
thing to
happens.
say, right? Because it's kind of less awkward to be like, "Oh, we should totally do this again," instead of be like, "Cool, nice to meet you, I'm out." Right in
Yeah.
the moment, and then you let them down afterwards, or you don't, you just disappear.
Right.
But I think you know
so-
what I mean.
yeah, I
like
get
in the
that.
moment, it's harder to reject someone to their face than it is through
Yeah.
text message.
It's so bizarre.
You know. Although I would like to say to you, if you still listen, which I don't think she does anymore, but
I
if
think
you
that ship has sailed.
do, I'm really proud of you for giving TJ his first ghosting experience.
Oh my God.
Thank you for that. And from all the ladies that listen to this podcast that know TJ, we all thank you for that.
I remember telling Jenna and being like, "This bitch ghosted me." And of course, she's not a bitch. I'm just being an asshole. But I was like, I feel like this is
I was
the
like,
most
LOL.
deserved smiting any man has
Yeah.
ever received in history.
I wanted to high five her.
I bet you did.
I did.
I know a lot of people when they think about ghosting, and we've talked a little bit about what causes it, what the kind of mentality behind it is. When we're looking at who ghosts and who gets ghosted, it's really possible, to Jenna's point, that people with like an avoidant type personality, they're just very reluctant to get close to people. They have trust and dependency issues. It's much easier for them to use an indirect method to end the relationship, and then more likely to ghost or initiate a breakup that way. Other researchers also found that people who believe in destiny, like things are just meant to happen, are much more likely to ghost.
Really?
Yeah, like that things are almost like it's just predestined, that there's nothing you do is going to change things one way or another. So they're just allowing life to happen.
Which, you know what? Listen, I fall victim sometimes to what's happened is gonna happen, right?
Sure.
Like I do believe that there's some sort
That's
of
why I ghost. It's destiny.
well, but here's what I have to say about this. Like, I believe a little bit that there could be destiny, or like, everything sort of does happen for a reason. It's like you don't see it right then, but then afterwards you look back and you're like, oh, that's why that didn't work out, right? I do that a lot. And it's not just in dating, it's in life. It's with jobs, it's with friends, it's whatever it may be, any kind of loss. That still doesn't mean you have to be an asshole and just disappear, right? Like, you can believe that things are supposed to happen. And when you meet that person, you can say like, hey, this maybe was supposed to happen, but I'm over this. This is not going to work out.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't give you the right, you can believe in destiny, but you don't have to be an asshole about it.
Right.
You can still say, sorry.
Just make a note in your phone.
Yeah.
That's what I have. I have a note in my phone. It just says.
Oh, you copy and paste it?
Yeah.
Good for
I'm
you.
like,
It's very
hey,
efficient.
It was nice to meet you. I try and say something nice about them if they were a decent human
Totally.
being. Like, hi, guys. Yeah, I just copy and paste. Normally, it's, well reciprocated.
Totally.
They're like, thanks for letting me know. I really appreciate
Well,
it.
that's it. Thanks
It's
for
just
being an
about-
adult.
Right.
That's all.
Being a decent human being. It's
Yeah.
not that hard.
Is there a Urban Dictionary listing where I can look up what decent human being means?
We,
Do you guys want to explain it to me?
everything that you have not.
Yeah.
not
Opposite
touched.
of everything you do.
To be clear, this is a character. I'm a delight.
Okay. Next one.
Next.
So, you just said that when you send that, generally the response is, oh, like they're glad that you're honest. And I think that's something else we wanted to touch on, like how to deal with rejection, whether it's as a function of just a couple dates or whether it's the end of a relationship. And a big key to that is, being an adult. If me dating, if my pattern is that every time I've told someone I didn't want to be with them or vice versa, that it became this like drawn out dramatic situation where there's a lot of like angst and back and forth, and you do become avoidant of that. And if more people were just like, okay, this sucks and I'm hurt, but I get it and I appreciate the honesty, then I think that would also go a long way towards propagating a culture where ghosting isn't like an epidemic, to keep using the same word over and over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, Jenna, you talked about your ghosting instances, and I looked up some statistics between the split between men and women on how they've ghosted, if they've ghosted, who's been ghosted. And oddly, women who have been ghosted, women who have ghosted, women who have not experienced any ghosting in any capacity, and women who have been both ghosted and been ghosted, it's about 25% around the board. So kind of equal experience. But the difference is with men, more men this is so bizarre. It's almost 35% of men who have not experienced ghosting at all, which is by far, or actually 36%, the biggest grouping that we've had, and 34% of men who've both ghosted and been ghosted. So men are at both ends of the spectrum in terms of non-participation and extreme participation, where almost no one in the men group have just either been ghosted or not been ghosted. This is so convoluted. I'm cutting this out.
Do you know why? No. Do you know why? It's because women are more mature. I'm looking at these stats that you're reading.
Yeah.
And that basically says to me that women, well, also we have a higher EQ usually. So like we understand
your EQ is in the garbage can.
Is it?
Yes.
Only with you sometimes. With everyone else, it's pretty high. But I feel like we do and I'm not just generalizing. I think it's probably a stat we could find. We are just emotionally more intelligent. So I feel like and empathetic. So I feel like that probably talks to these stats.
Sure.
Which makes a lot of sense to me because we probably feel bad and wouldn't want to leave things lingering.
So that brings us to what to do if you are ghosted. I think it goes without saying that the first thing you should do, Jess was talking about the guy who came back and was watching her stories. And that's kind of the flip side of this. But realistically, you should be avoiding reminders of that person. If they've done something that is disrespectful of you and your time in any way, and I'm sure this is coming off massively hypocritical from me, but if they have done that, just cut the tie. Don't be connected on social media. Yep. Don't watch their stories. If it's been
block them.
Yeah, if it's been for sure. Your SMS has been blocked by Android text blocker, whatever the fuck it said. So stay off social media. If you've been seeing them long enough to have pictures, get rid of the pictures. Yeah. Delete their text thread. Don't be going through old text. There's nothing positive and nothing healthy that can come from that.
Right. True. I agree with that. And he wasn't someone that I was like super into. And I think that almost
kept him interested to keep looking.
Hurt more.
Yeah.
Totally. Because I was like, no, I wasn't even that into you. And you still fucked me over. Like, what?
Yeah.
How is this happening right now?
That's the worst thing. Because you're like, wait a minute, this was supposed to be me. How did this happen to you? Right? Like,
exactly.
Yeah,
it's like,
I hate
no, I should be doing this to you.
Yeah.
I'm being nice by going out with you again.
And I think that is an EQ thing. A lot of men, I think, from my personal experience of people that I'm close to, have just become so desensitized to it. And it's happened to them. And over time, they're just like, I mean, I don't really care. The dating scene is almost like a buffet of options. You have the apps. There's another person right around the corner if you want.
Right.
And so you almost start to train yourself like Pavlov's dog not to react to it. And then the men are like, okay, it doesn't bother me, so it's not going to bother anybody else. So then they're doing it to like everybody. And men and women, our brains just work differently.
And I also find that just to be very sad, though, that like we as a society with social media connecting, we were just talking about the overheard girls, how like it's so easy to get in touch with people and like get to know people that you may never meet. Same thing with like dating apps and whatnot. But it's just as a society, we're so knee deep in that kind of culture that like I'm sure that also breeds this idea of ghosting too. So it may not necessarily be everyone's an asshole, right? Walking around. I'm sure some of them are, but not everyone. I just think they probably don't think about it. It may like not be a thing that they even think is an issue. It's just kind of like, this is how dating is, period. And then on to the next one.
Right.
But obviously not everyone is like that, but I'm sure that probably has a little bit to do with it, which is sad. The fuck? I mean, let's go back to the 1900s. I'm sure whatever their ghosting was like, but they were also like they
don't show up to the date to churn butter.
No, well, they would court you, right? Like they would come in. Like I remember even like my mom and dad, right? And they're in their early 70s right now.
Anna, you're beautiful.
It wasn't that long ago, but they've been married for 50 years this year, which is
awesome.
Crazy. And like the things that my dad did for my mother just to even get her to go on a date were insane. I was like, man, bet you regret that now 50 years later. He was like, sometimes I do. I'm not going to lie. Other days are good days and I'm glad I did. But it was like a lot of fucking work. And I even said to him, I was like, no way would a man nowadays in 2019 go through all the trouble that my father went to court, quote unquote, my mother.
They're out here doing the bare minimum.
Bare minimum. And then they ghost you.
Let me be the first to say that if your mother was a single woman living in Chicago right now, I'll court her all damn day long.
My
you
God.
And most of my male friends.
Yeah, she is the sexiest 70-year-old lady I've ever seen in my life.
It's weird. But yeah, she's a good looking lady.
When Jenna said earlier about the 6 dates a week or whatever that was, I also had a run at the beginning of last year where over a 4-month span, I spent like about $35,000 on dating.
What?
That's bananas.
Yeah, I was going.
Jesus.
I mean, like
You need to learn how to do a coffee date.
I had a second date with someone who we got second row tickets to Hamilton and then dinner at Oriole, which is 2 Michelin stars, 13 core pairing.
A second date?
Second date. It was like $2,200. I had another second date that I got front row seats for a crosstown game directly behind home plate, and then we basically just pub crawled through Wrigley. I spent $1,800 that day, and I'd realized towards the end of that dating period how I was just like hemorrhaging cash, and people at work would be like, dude, I see your Instagram, like how do you afford to do all of this? And I started being like,
Credit card debt?
How do I afford it?
Right.
So then I one night I was at a buddy's house and we were joking around about it, and I was like, hey, let's go online, I'm gonna log in and print my bank statements
that's depressing.
printed my bank statements, and it was just like the only way we classified it was an expense a date related or not. So if it was parking, gas to the city, whatever, if it was even remotely date related, we counted it, and over a 4-month span it was like $38,000.
Wow.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to learn how to do a coffee date. You got to pre-qualify.
You know what? I had a first date scheduled with someone, and I was just like throwing out something cheap. I was like, yeah, we should go for like a drink or coffee. And she's like, oh, I don't drink. I was like, oh, what about coffee? I don't like coffee. And I'm like, well, don't you suck?
What? Yeah. What do you
Go
want
for a
to do?
walk,
Yeah.
maybe.
But
like
I'm
Bella
trying to figure
said.
out what you guys are ordering on these dates. Like, I'm the type. Give me like a hole in the wall bar, some French fries.
If you ever-
Well, no, if you're going to the Dawson, you're spending a pretty penny too.
It would
Those
our
drinks
bill there
can be
was like
expensive.
$120, I think.
Right.
Oh,
And
that's not too
5
bad.
hours.
Oh, that's not too
Yeah,
bad.
but I was drinking beer. I wasn't drinking
Oh,
like fancy
well.
cocktails or
Oh,
anything.
yeah.
I don't
crazy.
drink beer.
Jen and
so-
I, our first 2 hours we were there was like $240.
Yeah.
See, I think I had like 5 drinks, and we split some food. So that's another
Yeah.
thing. Like, I don't know.
Right.
But what do
Well,
you
you're
guys?
s-
I need
well-
to
Maybe
know
you
what
take
you
them
guys
out
are.
for ice cream. Maybe that's the thing. You
Well-
gotta like.
Yeah, I think for me, why it got so costly is we were doing a lot of like dinner plus event. So
The events like Hamilton,
Yeah.
like what?
second row tickets at Hamilton, that was like $700. The
How'd
seat,
that one end up for you?
You don't want to talk about it?
I mean, she's like a VP for a large fragrance company. She makes like a fuckload of money. She probably makes 4
So
times
maybe
what I
she
make.
should have paid for your dates.
She should have.
Right.
She should have. How dare her? The unmitigated gall.
Did she ever like, so this is a thing that's come up with the guy that I'm dating now, was married. I don't know how much of this he wants me to tell. So he was married, divorced. She was not a stay-at-home mom. Well, I think she was. Yes, she was, because he used to be military. So when he was gone, she was at home with the kids.
Sure.
God damn, do you have a type?
Do I?
Yeah, bearded large men who don't live nearby who might have been in the service.
True, but LA guy was not large or bearded.
True, but he was distance
But he was
and service.
Yeah. Anyway, so when we go out, he was just here, and like all weekend, I just kept going like, can I get this? Like, do you mind if I get this? Or like, we got coffee and I got the coffee or whatever. Little things, right? And at the end of the weekend, he looked at me and he was like, you're so generous. I'm like, I'm not really. And he goes, you are though. I'm just not used to this because I'm used to being like the one who pays for everything. But like, it's nice and refreshing to meet someone who can like throw in every once in a while. Right. So did she ever do that on the dates that you have? Would she ever offer to like,
we quote unquote dated for about just under 2 months, maybe. And we went on a lot of dates. I spent a lot of money and I was dating. I mean, she was not my girlfriend. So I was definitely like actively dating other people during that period. But one Sunday she was like, hey, I want to like plan a day that's going to be like my treat to you. And so I came up to the city. We met at her place at like 9, went out for like a really cool brunch, then went to like Ace Bounce and played like ping pong and then like walked on the Riverwalk and then like took some water we did shit all across. She probably spent like $500 on the day. So she that's like something.
I just like sort of don't think it has to be like a big day like that. Like every once in a while, like she should buy a round of drinks, right? Your first round of drinks or whatever. Like you're sitting in a bar waiting for a table. I'll get this. Go get the table. I'll meet you in there. Like that kind of thing to me just feels nice to do, right? Because it shouldn't always, especially if you're not official, like and you're just dating. Like you have to imagine that. Like
she also listens to every episode of the podcast.
Hey, what's up, girl?
Yeah.
Hey, what up, girl?
That there is like should be like a 50-50 split because you assume that people are like I don't want you to if you're taking me on a first date and you ask me to dinner you're picking up the tab. That's the nice thing too.
It's like
I'll pick up the drinks afterwards or something, but like I don't think you should be responsible for the whole thing, but you should be responsible for like the date part that you asked me out on.
Did you guys see the Overheard in Chicago post last week? It was something about a woman not wanting to give a guy a blowjob after he asked her to split a $39 tab.
That would not happen. Yeah. If you definitely want to get laid, then you're totally paying for the full fucking day.
All right. Well, I think we're all in agreement in spite of whatever our minimal to maximal previous interaction with the ghosting experience has been. We're all in agreement that it is a bad thing. It sucks to be ghosted. It's not cool to ghost. And we could all be working a little bit harder to create a dating environment that isn't so kind of toxic and disposable.
Yeah.
So with that said, we're now going to present you the most easy thing in the world when it comes to breaking up with people or getting rid of them. So you have zero excuse to ever ghost someone again. We've literally done all the work for you. You could just fire these off to anybody. You can do this. So just go out there and be not shitty, because the more people are not shitty to each other, the less people will be shitty to you. Think about that. Living in a world where we're kinder to each other simply by not toying with each other's hearts and emotions. It's simple, guys. So you'll feel so much better once it's done. So here you go.
Wait, before you go into this, I'd like to say that I think that's a true thing. What do they call it? The law of attraction. We talked about this on Kenyon's episode where we talked about the law of attraction. And I truly believe that that is a thing, but it's only a thing when you put the effort in. So like the other day, so as we all know, I lost my wallet and that was a fucking shit show. I didn't lose it. It got stolen. And
YSL wallet too.
Yeah.
Worse.
Oh, it was the worst. And my phone at the same time.
I would cry.
I cried. I pretty much did.
I would.
It was awful.
And her AARP benefits card. That was in there too.
You're so funny. I know. He's such a dick, right? Anyway, so when that happened, I forgot. So I went to get a coffee one morning before the gym. I get like a coffee and a water. And when I was in there, I realized that I didn't have my credit card. No. And I was like, oh fuck, I forgot. Cause like I kind of blocks it out of my mind a little bit. And I get there and there was a guy behind me who was so nice. It was like 6:00 in the morning. And he was like, don't worry about it. I'll pay for it. I got it. And I thought that was so nice. And so the next day I went back with my wallet and I got a gift card for like $40. And I was like, the next people that come in, spend this gift card on them, because I felt like
paying it forward.
Paying it forward. Yeah. Totally. You know? And like,
if you ever just want to give me, if you want to pay it forward by giving me $40 at any point.
Stop it. But that's sort of what I mean, right? Like that's what you're talking about here is like, if you're going to put good out in the world, it should come back to you.
Okay. So we're going to go through the list now. And guys, remember, I would say your mileage may vary, but it won't. This is what you should be doing. And if people don't respond well to this, just chalk it up to that being a shortcoming on their end, because doing this is the right thing to do. Okay, so I'll kick it off. Hey, you could start with this. Hey, I think you're great, but I don't really see this progressing in the future. Easy.
Honestly, I think that that's the best one on this list. You could probably stop there because they all right, I'll give the next one. But I just think that's the easiest one, right? Short, sweet, to the point.
Right.
People will get what you're saying. The next one was, thanks for going out with me recently. I thought a lot about it and just don't think we're compatible. It's nothing personal, but I thought I should let you know. That's nice too. I like that one.
Yeah. And I love, just saying I had a great time with you, but honestly, I don't see this going anywhere.
Yeah.
Don't feel anything between us. I always like to say something nice if they're
Yeah,
just like
totally.
just being a nice person.
Totally. I think so too, because it is nice to say like, I did have a great time. I just don't see this.
Right. You're
like,
funny, but the attraction wasn't there.
Totally.
I think that's
I think that's okay
acceptable.
to say. Yeah.
So before we go to the next one really quickly, Jess, you'll get a kick out of this. Prior to my last serious relationship, I was like seeing a couple people when I met her, and the most primary person when I decided to end it with her to focus on the woman who became my girlfriend for a long time. I didn't know how to end it. I was like, oh man, I feel like she shouldn't be ghosted. Like we've put in enough time there, but I don't know what to say. So guess what I did?
Do I want to know?
No.
I'm going to drink for
not.
this. Hold
Jenna wrote me a really long text and I copied and pasted it to her. And it literally was basically like, if you just took the key points from this entire list we've got and made it into one like 3-paragraph text message.
It's probably been way nicer than what he would have sent.
I hope that you paid her.
Her response was, that's cool. You're a piece of shit.
Yeah. Well, but there's more to that story.
I feel like there's something.
Yeah, there's a little bit more to that story as to why she would feel that way. Why do you think she would feel that way?
That's pretty.
I feel bad. It wasn't on purpose.
Well, did you really? Because like you're not a monkey. We've evolved from these gorillas. You have cognitive thinking.
Do I?
Behavioral well, you should.
You're right, I do.
You should.
Where you know right from wrong, and you knew that was not the nice thing to do, but your monkey brain took over.
So much of this is funny. Good point. No monkey brain
No
going
monkey
for
brains,
it.
guys. No monkey brains.
Okay, so this next one I feel like is a bit of a cop-out, but I could totally
like
see
this
myself
one.
saying it. I'm going through some personal stuff right now, and I don't think it's a good time for me to be dating anyone. I hope you understand.
But see, if someone were to send that to me, I'd be like, "Oh,
Then why'd you date me to fucking begin with?
Yeah, I'd be like, "That's a lie. He's full of shit."
I'm not gonna lie.
I don't like that
We
one.
gotta X that one from the list.
I think
Okay,
we do
all right.
because I feel like honestly, just I don't know. You don't have to be mean about it. There's so many on this list I think we can go through, but I think they start to get weirder and weirder the further down we go, because I just really think that, hey, I think you're great, but I don't really see this progressing is fine.
I agree, but there's one more that I really
All right,
want to
read
read.
it. Which one?
Okay, so you're the worst, you sad excuse of a flesh bag. All right, just kidding. Don't use that one. I just wanted to make sure you guys are still listening to us. That might be a little too harsh. So I think the takeaway from this segment of this episode is just be forthright, be honest, date with intention.
I like that. Date with intention.
Yeah, that's a good one.
One of our best previous episodes was an episode on polyamory with a polyamorous comedian named Bobby Hill, and he talked at length about how important, particularly in his polyamorous community, but in dating in general, how both important it is and how infrequently people truly date with intention. That they're like, this is clearly what I'm looking for. This is what I'm trying to get accomplished. This is how I see your role in it. And when it's run its course, this is the mature adult way to end it. So I think it's important that you value people's time and value people's feelings. No one's saying that you owe anyone anything other than just common decency.
Right. That's the thing is, it just at the end of the day, like even last weekend, some guy actually from, I probably shouldn't say this, but a DM slide from the Overheard Girls. And he's been trying to get me to go out. And I said, this is when I'm available. So we made plans. And then an hour before, he's just like, hey, I'm not going to tell the story. But basically, I can't make it at this time. And I was just like, all good. Like, I'm not the one pursuing you. You're pursuing me. But I also didn't make plans for tonight. So like, what
that's shitty.
Here?
An hour before, I think, is shitty.
Right.
It's like,
and he was like hungover from the night before. I'm like,
man up.
Yeah.
Well, you don't want to date him anyway because he sounds lame. Is he young? He sounds young.
I have no idea. I don't know much about him, but I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
I'm just like, come on, man. Like,
I have a rule. Like, usually, if you're going to cancel a date, right? And you can even do it the day of, but like early on in the day, like so someone has time to make plans.
Bare minimum 12 hours, 24 if possible.
24 if possible, yeah. But like an hour before.
I was so glad that I didn't get ready. That did happen actually last night.
No.
Was it last night? Maybe it was Thursday. No, it was Thursday night. I got ready. Someone on a dating app. I'm on dating apps. I'm like, I don't have time to text my friends and family back. So I'm not trying to like
pen pal.
Yeah,
pen pal
totally.
you back and forth.
Right.
I'm
That's
like,
the way you should do it
hey,
anyway.
we connected. We've had a few, texts back and forth. If they're like down to meet up, let's do this. And then if I like you, we'll go from there.
Yeah.
So we had one of those. And then he was like, after all, I can't. And I'm like, just like, I just wasted all my makeup on you. Like, what?
Yeah, that's annoying. Or like a good hair day.
Oh, my hair looked so good.
Yeah, that's
Some
the
girl
worst.
DM'd me on Instagram, made my night. She was like, did you get your hair cut? I was like, no, I just straightened it. So maybe I shouldn't. I wish everyone could see me right now. I just came from a workout. Did not look that good, but.
It's weird how a DM from a total stranger is like a bigger pump to my self-esteem and ego than like anything anyone who knows me could ever say. It's like, oh, thank you, perfect stranger. I do look fantastic in this shirt today.
I was like, I was
you're the
feeling
best.
my hair, and yeah, homeboy was like, so.
So annoying. That's really annoying. I just as a side note, kind of like a tangent, on that note, I've all the dating I've ever done, I've never actually been stood up except for once. And I think he did it to get back at me because we had been talking for a while, and I was away in Florida visiting my parents. I think it was like around the holidays or something. And so we were chatting, but I couldn't see him. And so it was like a 2-week conversation, unfortunately. And then he started to get like really sexual, which made me very uncomfortable. And we were supposed to meet, when I got back, and the day that we were supposed to get back, I was supposed to meet him. I said to him, hey, listen, I just want to be very clear about my intentions here. Like, we started off with great conversation. Now things have gotten really sexual and it's making me a little uncomfortable because we haven't even met yet. I want to make sure our intentions are the same. I'm looking for a relationship. If you are not, you need to let me know now because then maybe we don't need to go out tonight.
Yes.
I was tired too. I just gotten back. And so he was like, I can't fucking believe you'd say that. You're playing so many games with me. First you make me wait 2 weeks and now you're saying that you don't want to have sex, And I was like, okay, so we were clearly not on the same page. Right. So I let it go.
He should have just played it close to the vest and kept it cool. You would have had sex with him.
Oh my God.
Maybe.
I mean, I know you pretty well.
I mean, maybe.
That shit would have happened.
Depends. It depends on if his weirdness came out on the day.
But you did what you needed to do.
But I did what I needed to do. I was honest with myself and honest with him.
Yes.
And so 2 weeks, 3 weeks go by. He resurfaces. Of course, they always do.
Oh, they always do.
And he sent me a text message and was like, hey, I'm sorry about last time. I've had some time to think. I think I was a dick and I'm really sorry. And like, I want to try again. Can we go out on a date? And I was like, I got like everything in my being was saying, don't do it. Don't do it. But I don't know. There's something about him that was kind of charming. So I was like, okay, fine.
Oh, no.
So we go and he never shows up.
Shut up.
Fuck.
Yeah. And I was texting Jenny.
That is
She's
so
been on me.
fucked up.
Yeah. I was texting Jenny and I was like, so how long do I wait for this guy? It's been like 30 minutes. Like after 30 minutes, I can leave, right?
Wait.
She was like, yeah.
What's the movie with Keanu
Without
Reeves
a text,
and
I texted
Diane?
him and he didn't respond.
What's the movie with Jack Nicholson, Keanu Reeves, and Diane Keaton?
Oh, that was such a good
As good as it gets, maybe?
Yeah,
Or
it was so good.
it's like that when Keanu makes the date with her and he's at the restaurant and she doesn't show up and he's just like sitting there eating by himself.
I didn't go that far. I stayed at the bar and I had a drink. And once I finished my drink, if he wasn't there, I was out. So I
Right.
left. But like, how shitty. I like got dressed. I put on makeup.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the worst feeling.
That's the worst. And then I just sent him a text message. I was like, you are such a piece of
Yeah.
shit. And then I deleted it because I thought, I don't even need this guy to know that he affected me like this. So go fuck yourself. And I didn't say anything. And then I blocked him. So
That's
is what
good.
mine
There you
was.
go.
Yeah.
Now that we've kind of talked about that, we know now the types of people that ghost, the stats around ghosting, why ghosting sucks and you should not do it. A couple of quick tips on how to communicate to people that you don't want to date them anymore. It's not that hard. Just follow those tips. And the final thing we want to talk about is, if you do get ghosted, if you do receive one of these text messages, however your situationship, your relationship, whatever you're in, however it ends, these are just some quick tips how to get over rejection. First things first, you want to make sure you acknowledge your emotions. Don't bury it. If you feel like shit, if you're shitty about it, you don't want to lash out at that person. Don't give them that satisfaction, but acknowledge it to yourself. Talk to your friends about it. It's fine to take a day, take a week, whatever, wallow in your shit for a bit, but don't let it keep you down, right? And then you got to review that rejection as evidence that you're living a full life. People who get rejected, that happened because you put yourself out there. You can't feel the sting of rejection if you're not invested in something. So don't let that defeat you. Keep investing, keep putting yourself out there. Then treat yourself with compassion. just because someone didn't like you, or, in Jess's case, that asshole who texted her she was ugly, that's idiotic.
Shit. I want to know his name and I'm going to find him.
I'm going to tell you afterwards.
Okay,
Put
good.
this
I'll tell you more
motherfucker
about
on
the
blast.
story.
Yeah.
I wish I could.
So
badly.
to that point, when he said that, I can't imagine how you felt, but you treat yourself with compassion. You don't want to propagate negative or self-defeating thoughts. So just because some asshole from a dating app or whatever said you were ugly, that that's not the case. You don't derive your self-worth from the opinions of some dude or some woman. Be your own person.
Also, that person probably inside is pretty ugly because no one talks like that to people.
Out of nowhere, too.
Out of
I think
nowhere,
that was the most jarring
unprompted.
part.
We think you're beautiful.
It's like,
You're
well, thank
great.
you.
Yeah. He just probably has an ugly soul.
I blocked him on everything.
Good.
And then the final 2 steps, don't be defined by your rejection and learn from the rejection. If someone doesn't like you, it's not about you. It's not about them. It just doesn't work out. But maybe you did something that you could work on, that you have some self-awareness to work on, whatever the case may be. Don't let it keep you down. Treat yourself with compassion. Don't be defined by the rejection, and then learn from that rejection. Any fill in on that, Jenna?
No, that's pretty thorough.
Yeah, super thorough. I'm a thoroughbred. That was stupid.
Yeah, you might want to edit that one.
I'll leave it in just because it was dumb, and I can't always be a comedic genius. Come on, guys.
This is true.
All right. Well, with that said, I think it's time for us to wrap up. It was great having the seasonally appropriate ghosting episode, and thank you so much to Jess Zimlich for spending time talking to us today. Jess, why don't you remind our listeners again where they can find you online, and just tell us a little bit more again about what you do on your 26 and Not Counting blog.
Yes, absolutely. You can find me at 26andnotcounting.com, and then on Instagram, mostly Instagram stories at 26 and not counting.
And that's the number 2, the number 6, and not counting in words.
That is correct.
Okay.
And that's where I will forever be preaching that nothing is fair in love and dating apps.
It's true.
Wiser words have never been spoken. So guys, if you want to find out more about Menage-A-Pod, head over to our Instagram at Menage-A-Podcast, where you will find our link tree that includes links to our Facebook group, which, as I say every week, join it. Please join our Facebook group, Twitter account, website, top episodes, and more. Finally, a quick thank you to everyone who makes this show happen, meaning Jenna, myself, Jess, our lovely guest, and you guys out there for downloading and listening to the show. And until next time, make sure you are sharing us in your IG stories, retweet us, share our Facebook postings, find other ways to tell a friend about Menage-A-Pod, and do the contests. Write a fucking review. Send us a fucking ghost story. We want your content, you little baby birds. Feed it to us right now.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Good luck out there.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.